JB here, November 19th, 2024, 3:32 on this fine afternoon. Talk really quick about the market, some names I'm looking at, go from there, particularly the SPY. Some interesting stuff today. We had I called it the sabering, right? The posturing by Russia, coming out with their new nuclear doctrine, like updating it, right? So there was Europe markets were down. I don't know if it was all on that. And then the VIX. So we also had housing data at 8:30. New home construction or new home permits down more than expected. So that in conjunction with, I guess, everything going on, the SPY traded down at about 8:30 right after the data, and then the VIX was over 17, and then found some footing and we bounced, and then 585, and it's just been a melt up ever since. So a decent session here, all things considered. I guess if there is a nuclear war, then stocks aren't going to matter, right? So I guess that's some of it. And there's Bobo in the house. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so uh, another tight range here on the markets, almost similar to yesterday's, except we hit a little bit of the lows at the start of the day, whereas yesterday was, I think it was 584.59 to 580, 589.49, somewhere in there. So similar trading range today. S&P, Nasdaq, even the small caps are joining the the move today. And I put it on the watch list this morning. It was almost like a solid session. I forget, just what the market needed after Thursday and Friday's moves. So we'll see if things hold up here. Small caps recouping that 230 handle IWM for a little bit. We'll see if that holds. And then tomorrow, and the headlines just keep going. We have, Nvidia's. It's I can't remember an earnings that's been this hyped in quite some time. And so typically you would have almost like a sell the news event, but it's not like Nvidia's been running up. And it's ironic. I was talking about too on the watch list, and I don't know if I mentioned in the chat room, but you had two analysts raising their price targets this morning. It just makes no sense. You can't wait 24 hours and get updated data. But hey, you do you, right? All right. So now individual names. Well, first 585 on the SPY, 590 on the for support, 590 resistance looks pretty solid there. So hopefully, and I was saying if we can get over 590 tomorrow, maybe or later, we got the 26 minutes. I think that'll bode well, and then we could start to look again for blue sky breakouts over 600. All right, so individual names. I mean, Lemonade. Wow, I was mentioning that the 40 handle, and I thought it'd be the next trigger point. I think I put it on a watch. The 35 is a squeeze trigger point, and boom, it broke 35 and just took off. And I forgot they actually had their first investor day, and they announced that last week. They want to be from 1 billion to 10 billion. I forget their vision, but it seems like that investor day went better than expected. They raised some of their metrics, and the stock's just going bonkers. So all the way up near over 40 for a while. It's sitting here at 39.50. I was able to lock some more of my December 35s in for nearly 1,000%. I still held on to a couple, and then I also went and got some more strikes into next week. It's almost like if the analyst day the investor day was bad, or in line, and the stock was up a couple percent, maybe there was some concern there. But I think it's going to help reset some expectations for some of the analysts. And we just had two negative analysts op-ins over the last week and a half since their earnings. You have to think they're gonna change, or at least maybe some upgrades, some sell to neutral. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more upgrades tomorrow, because there haven't really been upgrades. So if that happens, I think it trades in the mid 40s, if not higher. So at the same token, I mean, it's a volatile name. So someone maybe saw something in the investor day and they come out and downgrade the stock tomorrow. So I didn't want to be in a spot where I lose the nice profits, because sitting on those 35s, they were I didn't think that it would hit $40 this soon, right? So kind of happy with that. I'm not complaining. But hopefully the squeeze continues into tomorrow. More unwind and maybe 45, 50. I'm not going to rule that out. So that's why I got some strikes into next week. At some point, I'll lock the rest of December's. Probably more so on weakness. So maybe tomorrow, but I only have a couple left. All right, so that's Lemonade. Really like the story. Now here's Joby, and I they had upgrade this morning. Needham, and the other one, Archer, I think is the Archer Aviation, is the other EVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing company. The Archer is more of a short distance, where Joby can do 150 miles, more passenger, but there's other things, right? So both have partnerships. I think it's just United Airlines with Archer, but Joby has Toyota. I think it has American Airlines, Uber. investments from Toyota. Uh, so I just really like this one, and I'm looking to possibly add some April strikes. The April 10s were calling my, calling my name before, and the issues, the premiums on my December 750s haven't gone up as much as I thought they would. With there's so much time to expiration, I figured it'd be 40. Well, actually, yeah, there's still 30 by 35. So I'm still up nice, but I'm looking. I, I would like to see it 45 by 50 or 50 cents so I can get some out to cover costs. So until that happens, I'll probably wait to add more strikes. And again, this is a name that has some negative folks on it. So there's people who are uh, there's bearish. I have to find who has a bear piece on it. It might be the same folks who have been bearish, Tilray and some of these other names. So I always keep that in the back of my head. But that's Joby. Really like this name. I wouldn't be surprised to see it trade over 750 before the month is over, out, let alone into January. So, and not only that, I think once it goes, it'll be $10 and higher. And it's a market that it's an addressable market, right? I remember when Uber first came out, and people were like, "What's Uber?" Yeah, I'd see somebody waiting at the side, and I'm like, "You waiting for a taxi?" No, I'm waiting for an Uber. I'm like, "What's an Uber?" And this is, I don't know, however many years ago. And you never thought Uber would turn into what they. And I remember seeing a quick little snippet. Someone did like some little news piece on them, and this is back when they have a small California office in their little desks. And I'm like, "Your people are going to use their cars to." So anyway, rants for other days. And I'm not saying the same thing with Joby, but if they're able to clear regulation hurdles with the FAA, and they already got some, they've passed a lot of hurdles, and and then you start getting to the point where they can figure out logistics and all that. I mean, it's got to encrimp. Transportation is a huge business, and not only that, people don't like waiting, right? It's human nature. When you see a line, you don't like wait. People don't like waiting on lines. People don't like traffic, right? So when you take a look at a company like Joby, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to make it non-existent. And of course, things cost money, but there's a value proposition that I think is a very attractive. On the flip side, I remember SPCE, right? The Virgin Atlantic Space, whatever. Uh, I remember when they started going bonkers a couple of years ago when they started doing those near orbit flights, and I'm like, everybody was gung ho, the stock was going crazy. This is back in the SPAC days, and great company, and I'm sure there's an opportunity there, but it's not the same as like Joby has a real business model case, right? So I mean, it can be utilized. I'm not saying space is more like a trivial thing. It's like, hey, do you want to fly into space, but not really in space, but in high orbit? So anyway, rants for other days. I'm going too long. Market's going to close in 20 minutes. I mean, if you listen to SpaceX stuff, and I used to follow, SpaceX long before all this stuff, but there's a path for SpaceX once it comes public. They're going to be able to get you to Tokyo or Japan or whatever on a rocket, right? That's going to happen at some point. Crazy stuff, but a lot of the crazy stuff that happens with SpaceX has come to fruition. So rants for other days. All right, so that's Joby. So that's why it's a name that I've been watching for a while, and then they did the offering, and I started watching. I'm like, this is probably going to go bonkers again at some point. And when it does, the calls, which are inexpensive now, are not going to be inexpensive, right? And if you're holding the calls, you make money. All right, enough on Joby. Square. Hopefully, it looks like it's going to retake the high today here right now. Under the radar, crypto play. I mean, it has another business which that its payments with Afterpay and some of the other things. They had news this morning with buy now, pay later. So that's just some of their core business. But if they can get, especially with the crypto crowd, Bitcoin going nuts again today, I think it trades over $100, regardless of what goes on, regardless of fundamental, any of that fun stuff. So I remember, years ago when Bitcoin really started going, and if you remember Longfin, and I can go on rants on that one for a while. It seemed like every day there was a new company saying they were getting crypto, getting a Mino company doing this. And I'm not saying we're having deja vu here. Things are moved way more along in regards to crypto, but you start seeing these headlines. To me, it seems like the companies that have invested in it are now going to reap the rewards, bear fruit, what have you. I think Square is one of those. All right, so that's Square. I was trying to get my calls out. I had them up at 80 cents to fill some. They didn't fill. The ask was at 80, and then it dipped. So maybe I'll get another chance here. If I hear the ding, 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 maybe I know yeah, Thinkorswim has their little bell when I get filled. All right, so that's Square. So I really like this one. I don't want to add too much until I get some freebies. And once I do, maybe I'll look for some later date strikes to play for 120 and beyond for some FOMO, because I think that might happen. All right, that's Square. Dell's actually looking to go red to green here this morning. Well, from the morning, had some news out again. They had news yesterday. I didn't even read it, but this is more going to be a play now into Nvidia after the close tomorrow. So I'll just hold my strikes. I think Dell trades 145 plus if there's any just sniff of hyped up business between Nvidia and Dell. Um, yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about Dell, but I'll continue to hold those weeklies. Unfortunately, with Square and then Roku, which Roku's up, it was actually right at 75 before finding resistance. I got strikes into next week. Unfortunately, with Dell, those premiums, they have earnings next week. So I'm not going to go and get calls on Dell for premium bill for earnings when there could be an opportunity to get it for this week. So that was the thought process with getting weeklies on Dell. So that's Dell. Gold, not much to add here on gold. It was up over 1.7% yesterday. It's up nearly 0.8% today. I'm still looking for some more positions to play for downside. I think this is just a short-term relief bounce. And then, I think the theme, oh, there's Square just hit highs at a session. Uh, I think there's that store of value conversation is going to just keep going, right? So it's not going anywhere. Yeah. So in regards to Target, right? So again, I looked at the premiums this morning, and to me, it's like almost unplayable for Target, at least for how I trade. So right now, it's got a $13 implied move, so nearly 9%. But then you look at the strikes, and the 165 calls on Target, $9 out of the money to $3. They expired 2 days. Well, tomorrow's earnings. To me, that's not the risk reward. And then you go all the way up to 180. Do you think Target's going to add what's its market cap right now? I it's just it's tough to wrap my head around the risk reward. So I'll probably wait till tomorrow. $71 billion company. So if it rallies 15%, I mean, so I'll probably pass on Target. And that's it, folks. Trying to think of anything else here. Well, Dell's got a little candle. Joby's at highs. Roku's at highs. Let's have a great afternoon, folks. I'll be back rock and roll.